Hello, everyone, and welcome to our EMS podcast episode 12. And today we have a face that most people already know, which is Rudy Ooms. Welcome, Rudy.
Thank you. Don't tell that to my girlfriend, but otherwise she gets jealous.
You are our special guest, and we are so happy to have you here. Put some spotlight on what you do and what your journey are. And so, how are you, Rudy?
Well, who I am, shall I start with that one first?
We can
Yeah,
start with who you
most.
are. Yeah.
Yeah, then okay. Well, I'm Rudy Ooms. I'm now 40 years old, so I'm an old bastard. And yeah, I'm a Microsoft MVP for the third or fourth year right now. Started working in IT a long time ago, and I have two kids, a beautiful wife, and I'm working for a great company called Patch My PC nowadays. So yeah, that's a little about me. Oh, and I also need to add that I am the weird guy that looks at DLL files for an hobby. So yeah,
I will make sure that we have to make sure that your girlfriend actually listens to this podcast when you say she's beautiful. But yeah,
yeah. Otherwise, she's going to be mad at me if I didn't say that.
And I'm sure your girlfriend is good support for where you are today, right?
Yeah, most of the times when I'm doing my things, she needs to take care of the kids. So today it was a little bit different because she was out working because she also got a new job like 2 months ago. Most of the time that's working for home remotely, but today she needs to drive to the work. So I needed to watch the children. They can watch themselves for 1 hour, so it wasn't that big of a deal. But at least with phones, I just told them just send me a WhatsApp if something's wrong, and I will come down inside to help out. So and I didn't hear anything, so hopefully they are still alive.
That's good. That's good. So shout out to all our wives and girlfriend. Yeah.
Yeah, and she
All
needs
the
to deal with
wives
the
out
fact.
there and girlfriends. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
how I wanted to say it. Yeah.
she needs to deal with the fact that I'm away quite often. So yeah, especially next year will be fun for her. So yeah,
how many hours do you use each day, like each evening after work?
it depends on what I'm doing. Just like last week, yeah, you know what I was doing Thursday evening, Friday, and Saturday morning. So yeah, when I notice something, I want to know why it happens, why it breaks, and I don't quit until I get the answer from myself or from someone from Microsoft. And yeah, sometimes that takes a couple of hours, sometimes that takes a day, and yeah, I forget or lose track of time while I'm doing so. So yeah, Thursday it was like 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the night, and I was like, oh shit, now I need to go to bed and wake up tomorrow morning and start doing the same thing again. Okay, so yeah.
Yeah.
So you're consistent in that you want to have an answer. When you have some technology, you want to have some answers about. That's
Yeah,
my
exactly.
also
I
my
don't.
yeah.
I want to look at it myself. I want to decompile it myself. I just like. Do you know the series from long ago called Heroes? You had an evil person in it, Siler, and he wants to make wants to know what's make them tick. So he opens them up, like take a look at the skull and the brains and something like that. So yeah, if I need to compare me with someone, then that's it. Because really want to know what's happening and not just reading the docs because the docs can be wrong. I want to see what's happening for myself. So yeah, that sometimes takes a lot of time and effort to retry, and doing the same flow over and over again to find the missing piece, and from there on, the whole world opens up and you know what's happening.
How is it actually? Like, I don't think I've seen a single time that Microsoft has or something that you haven't figured out in advance or something like that. How is it actually to? to find those things like in advance? Is it like you're going on Reddit forums, or you're going on Discord, or you're going on
It's a
the tech community, or
combination from everything because just today someone reached out to me and he was like, "Oh wait, did you already posted the blog about fixing the subscription activation? The one that I just published. I still need to share it on LinkedIn, etc." But I had a whole discussion with him, and he was like, "Oh, the only thing I forgot was this thing." I was like, "Yeah, you forgot only this." But yeah, that was on Discord, a private message I got from someone. So it, it really depends on the use case of the person or the problem. Most of the time, it's just watching a Reddit. Uh, I get private messages by email, by LinkedIn, by Twitter. Most of them are like, yeah, just open ChatGPT and ask it in there. But sometimes I'm getting used, I'm getting better, and just reading the question, I'm like, that's an easy question. You can figure it out everywhere, and that's like, that's a weird one. And especially if I'm hearing the same question for on different forum, then it's becoming interesting. And from there on, I just start asking, and somehow I'm a shit magnet for those kinds of things. So people know where to find me, and even Michael Niehaus' point of redirects people to me. Just ask Rudy. He loves that kind of weird stuff. So just ask him. So yeah.
yeah,
And
that's nice.
and I could imagine that because you have so much knowledge about the products in the backend as well, because you use so much on your free time on it for the community, and thank you for that. Um,
My
that also
pleasure.
makes you a lot more knowledgeable in the way that when you see a problem, you know it's a problem, right? You
Yeah.
then go in troubleshooting mode with the backend knowledge you already have.
Yeah, but sometimes it's very difficult and very hard to know more about the back end than I'm allowed to know, or
Yeah.
what my NDA tells me that I'm allowed to know.
Which is good because we need to have someone out there that has all that knowledge in the back, and then so on the PCs with Intune and the Intune management extension, how it works on the device. Because I can be frankly honest, I'm not the one sitting and touching all the logs file DLL files I've seen you had on one of your blog posts as well.
Yeah, the same with the Intune management extension to figure out how the Intune management extension finds out in which enrollment status page phase it is. It's not documented by Microsoft, right? Someone tried to do so with the Get Autopilot diagnostics tool, but those only use the tracking information from the apps, but nothing more. They don't really figure out or tell you what it's checking for. And I was like, because someone opposed me and he was like, I have a weird issue on my device, my apps are not getting uninstalled. I'm like, oh, that's weird. That shouldn't happen. And from there on, I was looking at the log file and I was like, yeah, that's weird. And now I'm intrigued by what's happening. So I'm going to spend 2 days just decompiling the DL file and just working my way through every single function in it to find out what's happening. And from there on, getting it in a mermaid flow to even get it somehow how do you call it, that people can take a look at it and they can understand what I'm trying to show them, and that's sometimes difficult. And another guy, Joost Kleinstein, always tells me, Rudy, you need to put your brain into someone else and just watch through them eyes, because sometimes you just go from 1 to 1,000 in 1 second, and you forget about the people that you are explaining it to. They even know about point A. So start at the beginning and just move
Yeah,
on slowly. And sometimes it can be difficult.
yeah, it's not easy when I think it's not easy because you're so passionate about it and also like really knowledgeable about it as well. I think that makes you really eager to like I want to show how it works, and sometimes it's not always easy to translate what you actually like want to show
No,
people
and
because it's not that easy like to understand. It's not There's a reason why it's not that easy to figure out as well. So I
yeah,
think it's a little bit easy to
security reasons, for
yeah
example, and that's sometimes a little bit the balance on what you're allowed to tell and what you're not allowed to tell. So yeah, and it's always fun to just have a conversation with Microsoft, because sometimes when I post someone, they are also no, Rudy, no, I'm not going to talk with you. That makes it even more funnier.
Should we take a look at his personal journey and where it all started?
My personal journey, I'm an old guy, so started long ago.
We should. We should.
You you started your career at Deltacom for about, what is it, 21 years ago?
Yeah, something about that. Yeah, 21, 22 years ago, and I started as a young kid, like 16 years old. So officially, I'm even working there a little bit longer than those years, because I'm 40, so I'm missing 2 years or something like that. But I started there selling computers, so not even technical, so just selling home computers to old grumpy people that don't want to buy anything, just want to talk. So yeah, I was working there in the weekends beside my school, and from there on I had an MBO. How do you call it in? At least I had a higher education that that was like 4 years. But while I was working for Deltacom, in like the second year of my school, I got an option to just work full time at Deltacom and just get my papers at the end of the fourth year, just get them. And I only needed to put in one big exam. I need to build an application or something like that. That's
Yeah.
what I needed to do, and I need to fill it in, and here you go. And I was done. So in the meantime, I could work at Deltacom, and I moved from selling computers to repairing computers. So that's one step. I didn't need to sell anything anymore. So from there on, just fixing the home computers. From there on, fixing company computers, and
Did
from
you
there
have
on,
a gaming computer?
I had it in the past, and also a game server on my own, and I played a lot of Call of Duty, and I had a private server running. So yeah, it it was fun. So yeah, that yeah, and from there on, I was working. Often you will start fixing computers at companies. From there on, fixing the networks. So I also did a lot of networking. And it moved on and moved on. So within a couple of years, I met a payroll company, and he asked me, Rudy, we have a kind of software, and we want to sell it to the companies. Can you build me something, a cluster of something that people can log into wherever they are, and just start using the application that I sell them, and doing everything for them? I was like, maybe. And from there on, I started building my first multi-tenant Active Directory, and also with the remote desktop gateway. So the first one is a terminal service gateway, so the old name, and that became the remote desktop gateway, and the remote desktop gateway cluster his own multi-tenant Active Directory. So each customer is separated in their own OU, but they share the file server, they share the domain controller, they share an SQL server, all clustered. And
So that scenario you got there, you got a scenario in your hands, and like, fix this for us, Rudy.
yeah,
And that makes something inside your head like, okay, let me see what kind of technologies that I know of right now that I can build
use
to comply with this scenario. Okay.
yeah.
Did you had
And
any
so
knowledge like with
nope.
those things before? So it was trial and
Oh,
error.
yeah, I started working with Windows NT and Windows 2000. So the first Exchange server and service I used was Windows 2003. So yeah, and terminal services on 2003. That's shitty as beep beep beep. So no. So the first thing, after some trial and error, we upgraded the service, and yeah, and from there on we could create a cluster, and also the first multi-tenant Exchange environment also attached to the multi-tenant Active Directory. So that was a big part of my journey is just creating that Active Directory, harden it. At that point, not really harden it, but it was kind of cool because I created something that apparently no one could, or at least was trying to do. And from there on, my boss asked me, so if we can create it for that customer, we can just do it for every customer, right? I was like, yeah, but
Yeah.
then we need to automate it for every customer.
Yeah.
So we created a big shared environment for ourselves for all the customers that we had with all the legacy applications. At least back at the time, it were the regular applications. But so we moved all the customers we got to our cluster with multiple remote desktop gateway servers, and we created our own Deltacom Cloud shared multi-tenant Active Directory with Exchange on top. So that was kind of cool. And from there on, we automated the whole environment. So if we need to onboard a customer, it was just clicking a PowerShell script, entering a couple of details of the customer, pressing enter, and watching everything happen. And yeah, besides automating it, the environment needs to be secure. So
Could you at
all
that
the
point code, Rudy? Just
yeah, I learned
you could. Okay.
PowerShell myself, so it was funny to do so. But yeah, I know how to write power or the batch scripting. So moving to PowerShell, it's again trial and error, self-teached. Just start trying stuff that it's in my head. I want to automate this, and let's see what happens. And back in the days, you didn't had any internet, so it was just let's see what happens. Let's break it in a testing production.
Okay.
What is it? Something like that. So yeah, but that gave me a lot of knowledge how stuff should work. So yeah, that was a big transition. And from there on, after creating those platforms, I became the CTO of the company. And
Okay. In the CTO. And how long have you been in the company for until you became the CTO?
That's a good question. Like 15 years. So the last 5-6 years, I was CTO of the company.
15 years.
How
Like it's
many?
impressive that you've been in the company for 20 years. Let's just be honest. It's
Yeah, they are. I still see them, and they're very lovely people. And yeah, I even had a pre-Christmas party a couple of weeks ago. So they are great people, and they really support me by when I had at least I was supported by Best My PC, and they were very lovely in just letting me go, and they were like, okay, Rudy, we totally understand what you want to do, and we can't offer you that. Yeah, we are going to support you 100% if you want to move to Best My PC, and yeah, so I did.
yeah,
How
you
many
made the swap.
employees?
Yeah, sorry.
How many employees was it at Deltacom at that time?
14, 15. So it's a regular
Okay.
small
Yeah.
company, but yeah, it's a small city, so a small IT company, and we got some big customers, and yeah, it was going pretty well. But only I was missing the challenge, and it all changed when I became an MVP. Uh, being more on Reddit, being more active on the forums, because I love to do that. I love to write. I love to help the people that are having those weird issues. And with Deltacom, yeah, it was just another day at the office, just doing your thing and making sure that nothing breaks. And if something breaks, you need to fix it. But I spent like 15 years on servers and terminal servers and Exchange and the whole plan. I was like, yeah, I want to move over. And of course, I also of course before I left and before I became MVP, I removed all the Exchange servers to Exchange Online, but that's pretty obvious because I hated our multi-tenant Exchange environment with the big databases. That's horrible. And of course, the next step is moving customers once they got the Exchange Online, just moving the customers away from our multi-tenant environment. And just enrolling the device into Entra Azure with Intune on top. And if they had still had a legacy application, we could still publish it as a remote app from the cluster in the meantime. So that's why I also enrolled into Intune, and also automating it to make sure if we need to onboard a new customer. That was like 4 or 5 years ago.
And was it in the meantime when you started to move into the cloud environments that you also started blocking and doing, like,
Yeah, a
go in that
little bit
direction?
at the same time. I know that I was speaking with Jasper Bernard, nowadays working at Wortel Belgium, and he also wanted to start writing a blog, and we had a couple of conversations, and we are like, let's do it together. And of you have your own blog, I have my own blog. Let's see who's going to win. So yeah, I won.
Okay.
But
Okay.
yeah, but then again, he's the CTO of the Wortel Belgium. So yeah, maybe that also counts a little bit. But yeah, we had just an idea, just start writing about stuff that's in our head, and yeah, while I was moving companies to Intune, I started writing the blogs. When I look back at those first blogs, they are horrible. But
I
yeah,
think
you
we
need to start
all
somewhere.
start from a yeah, exactly. Start from a place. Yeah.
So I did. And the more you do something, the better you become in it. And that's also with writing and trying to tell a story. So yeah, at the meantime, while moving to Intune, also my passion for Intune grow, and also helping in the community in Reddit. And that's I guess one of the biggest reasons why I moved over to Patch My PC, because they let me do what I love to do most. So yeah, instead of trying to help annoying customers with their tunnel servers and all the stuff.
How did
So
you
customers,
how did Deltacom take it when you said that you wanted to blog or you wanted to start speaking at public events? How did they help you, like, in order to get started with that?
as I mentioned before, my boss, my two bosses, a woman and the husband, so they were so supportive, because I was one of the first employees at the company so long ago, and my brother is also working there, nephew was working there, so it was a family company. And yeah, the moment uh, at least I told that I want to move past my PC, the first thing he told me I already knew. So I felt it. So we don't have to talk hours about it. I knew that you were going to ask me that question, so you're free to go. And the moment I started blogging, it was like, if you want to do this, you need to do this. And of course, we were thinking about that it could help Deltacom as well, but because it's a relative small company, it's not doable. Because the stuff I do now for Pass My PC, yeah, that will attract people to Pass My PC. But attracting big companies from all over the world to a small IT company in the Netherlands, no. And that's what I want to do. And they were so supportive, and they were like, yeah, if you want to do that, please do. And of course, in the meantime, I also need to take care about the whole environment. But yeah, every single day I was like, I really want to do this. I also need to do this, but that's because you're getting paid to do that. And of course, if there was an issue or a problem, it doesn't matter if it was in the weekends or in the evening hours, I was there. So I I witnessed some crazy weird stuff back in the days that I'm like, oh, the young people now nowadays, they are not going to know
So,
what kind
so
of weird
let
stuff I noticed and seen with my own eyes.
so let me just get so the biggest value you got from changing from your current employee to the new employee was that you wanted to have some kind of um what was it that it make the move for you? I know the company is branded out there, everyone knows about it, but what could they bring for you as value as an employee? Was it that you can be more free, or what is it
It's
that
a
gives you?
combination of a lot of things, and one of the most important thing is that they hired me as a content writer. So yeah,
Okay.
I'm a content writer, hero of community manager. Of you have a lot of names you can put on it, but it's still kind of weird because content writer sounds like a marketing guy, as Joost always calls me. But that gives me more free time, more time to do research and development to find out how something works. Because spending 2 days on the instrument extension and figure out how the get ESP works, you can do that in your regular day. And most of the time when I was doing it for Deltacom, I was doing it also in the evening hours, a
Okay.
lot more, also in the weekends. So I'm now a little bit free in the weekends most of the time. So well, that's something that counts. So yeah, and they give me the possibility to go wherever I like. So if I want to go to MMS, MOA, of course, if you need to put in a session to be able to speak, but they are very supportive because if I don't put in a session, yeah, Pass My PC is still there, so I can still help them out with the boot and everything, so I can still come to them. So that's being it's more easy for them to support me because again, Deltacom was a pretty small company. So the same with the MVP Summit. We all know you need to pay it for yourself. So
Mhm.
and the hotel in downtime, the Hyatt, yeah, the Hyatt.
Yeah. Value. Yeah.
That's pretty expensive for a week. Combine it with
It is.
the traveling costs and everything on top. Yeah, my company, Deltacom was like, that's a lot. Are you going to do that every year? Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen the prices on that whole particular hotel is now like 1,000 euro per night,
Yeah.
and I'm not gonna be paying that because
No. So
I'm
I
not
booked it
personally gonna be paying
some
anything.
months ago the first moment, so it's still more expensive than some other guys booked it. But I pre-ordered, or at least I make sure that I put in a reservation. I didn't pay anything because I am like, it's still absurd the pricing. So let's see what happens. And normally, Pass My PC also gets a cabin somewhere else, so I still can cancel one and just go with them in the cabin. But it depends how many people are going from Pass My PC to the MVP Summit as well.
So you are happy where you landed now. You feel
Yeah,
you are more. I feel you're like in a calm state now because it's connects with all your own values with what you like
exactly.
to do.
The
Okay.
first few weeks was weird because yeah, what I'm supposed to do as content writer. Normally, you have your day-to-day job and you have your targets you need to do every week, and you need to do this and you need to talk with that one. And my first conversation with DJM, it was also one of the besides Wout and Maarten, but DJM, the conversation I had with him, yeah, he was pretty overwhelming, and he was like, "You just need to come. We'll figure it out what you love to do, and if someone loves what he does, he's good in it, and we need to have the best people in the job." So yeah, and no one can say no to DJM, so I also can say no.
So you've landed at your job at Patch My PC, and like we've understood a little bit about your passion behind Intune, but how did it? So I understand the state where you're going to answer questions on different tech community forums or Reddit or stuff like that, but how do you actually end up looking into DLL files or debugging and stuff
Looking
like that?
DL
Like, I
files,
mean, it's a big step, right? I mean,
yeah, but you can blame Matt Call for that one. So if he's listening, because it all started happening a couple of years ago when Matthias Melkersen had the brilliant idea to put in a session at MSMOA, and just a couple of months before, Matt Call not reached out. He was like, Rudy, if Rudy wants to see, or if Rudy sees this, he wants to know more about it. And that sounded like a challenge. So and I was like, okay. And I was looking at it, and I was Yeah, but I can't seem to figure out only by looking at the log files or the traces I got what's happening. And I was like, yeah, I need to know more. So from there on, I started poking around with Fiddler, only for the MMS BOA session, because I was like, I wanted to look at this. And so Fiddler was part one, just seeing the communication flow to what's happening when the device reaches out to the service. But still, I was missing the whole picture, because I had event logs, I had traces, I had the fiddler in place, and to find out what the communication from the device is, but I still didn't know what's really happening. Yeah, okay, you can open Pokemon, so I did a lot with Pokemon to find the proper filtering or have the proper filtering in place, but still, I was missing the flow in the code. At least in my head, I couldn't what I was telling in the beginning. I wanted to explain what's happening in my head, and if I can't explain it, I keep on going. And so from there on, I was like, then I need a tool to open DLL files and executables. So yeah, the first moment I opened the DLL file, I was like, okay, that's something else. That's something I'm not used to look at. But the moment I noticed that I could open a pseudocode, I was like, oh, that sounds looks a little bit like PowerShell. I was like, okay, I can live with that. And also it also depends on who wrote the code, but a lot of people have the same patterns. The same with Jay Simmons that wrote the labs code. I could easily read it and put every dot together, but some files are like going from there to there, from there to there, so that makes it more difficult to read. But yeah, if you use a IDA assembly tool and you open a DLL file, yeah, then it's just what you can do with it. Yeah, you can use IDA for certain DLL files and executables in the System32 folder. And if you want to take a look at engine management extension files because they're .NET, then you need to have the .peak tool, and that gives you a totally different flow than the IDA tool. Because if you use the IDA tool for the engine management extension, you're like, can't see what's happening because you can't open the pseudocode, but with a .peak you can. So it depends on the file, and yeah, most of the time you start with Pokemon. Pokemon will show you the function names, or if you have a function name from the event log, then you know where to start, or at least where to start poking. And with the IDA tool, you can open the DLL file, the executable, and just start of making your way through it and just looking at what's happening. And yeah, even now with ChatGPT, it makes it even more simpler or more easier
So
because
that interest to like figuring out a DLL file how it works because you saw an issue that you were not able to track down why it was happening and what was actually
yeah,
happening. So you went just going to the little files and executables. That's I think that's
otherwise I
cool.
couldn't really explain it in my head what's going on. The same with
Makes sense.
the conf refresh bug. That's only because I was looking at the DL file. Why is it happening? Why is it breaking? Why is it looking in that folder? Okay, of course, Pokemon shows me that's looking in the wrong folder, but why is it looking in the wrong folder? And why is it in there? Why is it not looking for the Enterprise Mobile Device ID in that folder? And why should it be there? And how does that work? So all those steps, yeah, it's way easier if you just open the DL files and just start going down the flow and just seeing.
But you have to look like in. Then you start in one, and then you start to do that, and then the next one. And
Yeah,
I mean, it's like it's quickly getting out of one way and then
well,
another way, and yeah.
yeah, of course, because also again it depends on who wrote the code, but some functions are also not using the proper good names. They now just put in lambda number. So I'm not sure what that is.
And I
So
know on your blog, Rudy, you have multiple blogs where you actually show a DLL file, don't you?
yeah,
I don't remember if it was in this particular blog
uh,
post.
Streamline, not that one. Streamline, no, not that one. That one is from the tracing tool, DPM attestation. I've not like administrator not.
If you can't find any blog posts, it's all good because I know you wanted to talk about this previous blog post, this one, right? Device
Oh yeah,
preparation.
that one was
And I know
pretty funny. It is a blog from 4 years old,
it's a 4 years old blog. Okay, so you've
but
been saving that one.
yeah, well, not really saving because when I started my first blog, I posted was how if you're not using autopilot and you don't want to get those pesky privacy settings prompts when you enter your credentials and you're going to the ESP with autopilot, you could prevent those. But if you we're not using autopilot, then you then you got those privacy prompts. And I wrote a blog how you could create a PowerShell script and convert a PowerShell script. It was a bad script, so it's still the same. But
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah.
yeah, and I converted it to a Win2 app and added to the ESP to make sure you can block it. So that's also, I didn't mention that anymore in this one. But yeah, I was like, that's weird because someone on Reddit posted a question, hey, how can we get rid of the privacy settings when we are using autopilot? We are also using Windows Enterprise. So the first prompts you get are gone. But I still don't want to have the users go to the privacy settings. I don't want that. Can we block it? And I was like, yeah, of course. I was like, oh wait, that's a block. How to block or prevent the privacy settings when not using autopilot. And autopilot version 2 is not autopilot. So yeah, I was like, I just rewrite this block. So I put it back in draft. I rewrote it to make sure it's related to autopilot version 2 of autopilot device preparation. So yeah, because the other one was also attracting zero traffic. So yeah, makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
you've started to being a real big SEO guy after doing marketing.
Yeah, I'm marketing, so CEO optimization, and yeah, that's part of the
Yeah,
job, right?
it is. And I know we also want to talk a little about your blog because I know we already talked about it in the beginning, but what was your inspiration behind starting your blog as it is? Not as it is right now, but was it when you began? You know that mind you
I
had when
was
you.
missing a lot of content on the internet. What was telling a true story, not a copy paste blog from Microsoft. And I was a little bit annoyed by the stuff I noticed that everyone was just copy pasting the stuff from Microsoft, and yeah, that was it. And I was like, yeah, it's not your own story, it's not your own idea, it's not your what you think, it's not your personal flow in it. It's just copy paste. So I was like, I want to help people, but I'm going to help people with my own ideas, with my own story. And it all started by also using weird movie titles as blog titles, which is actually not good for CEO. At
Yeah,
least that's what I
you
don't
have
know.
some funny titles I've seen. It's
Yeah,
I think they're good. I think they're good from a technical perspective. These are very good.
yeah, I know, but in they were also in the URL, and they were also it was bad, but still I use the funny names because I think they are funny.
And they also like make people notice your blogs as well. I mean, it all starts from the title. It all starts from the pictures that are on the
Yeah,
blogs.
just a few things I see is the title and the picture, and from there on they decide to click on it, yes or no, off, or they need to run in the same issue, the same with the subscription activation. Yeah, that needed no explanation back a couple of months ago, but because of the image, because of the title, maybe it's got a little bit more attention than it normally could get. But yeah, the titles were pretty funny, but yeah, I started just writing those blogs just because I was missing stuff. I wanted to tell my own story, and apparently, after a couple of months, a lot of people finding that thought it was good. So I was like, okay, then I can continue doing so. But yeah, again, the more you do something, the better you become in it. So the
Exactly.
same with writing the blogs, and that's why
And
I
how did
also
you feel?
rewrite a
Sorry.
lot.
Yeah. Sorry, no, I don't want to interrupt you. I just wanted to talk to you about how did it feel when you posted your first blog post?
How I felt, that's actually a good question. I can hardly remember it because it is like 4 or 5 years ago or something like that. But it got barely attraction, the first ones. The same with the one that I just recreated. It got 0 visitors. So, but yeah, from there on, you start noticing that people actually run into a lot of issues. And I was trying to explain those issues of what's happening. And the more tools you have to explain it, the easier it becomes for them to understand what you're trying to say. And the better the blog becomes. So that the better the blogs, the more people and the more famous name I got because of them. So if I didn't decide to write or start a Call for Cloud blog, then yeah, no visitors.
Exactly funny, like the question you were asking, Jonas, because like I only started blogging, was it 1 year ago, perhaps a little bit more. And the feeling like when you have to post your blog on social media, such as
The
LinkedIn, or
pressure.
yeah, and you have to or do your first speak as well. I mean, it's a little bit overwhelming, right? I mean, you have
Yeah,
all your colleagues, you have all your friends, you have like a lot of people looking at you when you post things on socials and say that take a look at my blog because blah blah blah. I
yeah,
mean,
I know.
yeah, it's
My first live session was at MMS MOA. And the moment we started talking about how the angel enrollment works, what's happening in the back, and from there on moving on to MMPVC. At that point, the moment I started, Vengetta and Metcalf entered the room and they were sitting in the back or standing in the back. I was like, oh shit, now they are watching me. But yeah, but in a
Are you on the
couple of
stage?
minutes, yeah, I was like, okay, it's all good and I can continue. And Matthias Malcolm was like, let's move on. Just start talking. Just go. So I was like, oh, forget to enter room. Okay. But yeah,
So you still get nervous today as well when you get on the stage?
yeah.
Okay,
That's
yeah, I do the same. I'm not been on that many stages as you have, but
no,
never.
it's still weird. It's still it's just a couple of first minutes.
it's always
It's
tricky.
weird. Yeah. And the
Mm.
same with Workplace Ninja Switzerland. I had 2 sessions. One of them was my own session with Joost about TPM attestation of TPM enrollment attestation. So that was totally my own session in the main room, and I knew I knew the session from A to Z. So I was pretty comfortable doing so. But still, you're standing there on a big stage. Luckily, at that point, all the lights were still off, so you didn't see any people. I was really happy about it. So I was like, okay, I can't
I'm
see
alone.
anyone. Yeah, I don't care. But the next one with Microsoft, with Brad, with Vengetta on stage, Joost had an excellent idea to turn on the lights just for a couple of minutes while we were standing there. I was like, and they turned on the lights. I was like, oh shit! And now I'm looking at Pinky. I'm looking at oh, okay. I'm done. I'm done.
All the nerves are coming up.
Yeah.
Like when we are talking about your blog and your sessions, like the main audience, is it mainly the experienced people, or is it the people that are doing deep dives in their free time, or is it
No,
like
also, it depends because I had well, like 1 year ago, or something like that. I had some persons from the K-12 schools in America or wherever they are based, and they all wanted to test out at EPM. And somehow all those school environments they wanted to use EPM, but it didn't work. So I was the one that started looking at it, and even while they were totally not doing anything else, it started with a simple question: EPM doesn't work. It's not a big
Have you
derivative.
remembered to activate it?
Yeah, so you go to the first steps. Did you do this? Did you do this? And he was like, yeah, but Microsoft support isn't don't know what's happening. So I was like, okay, then I'm interested, especially if someone places a bet, who can fix it sooner, you or Microsoft? Then I'm going to take that bet. So, and the same with that one, I was like, yeah, I want to know what's happening, and just by a couple of simple questions, I fixed it for all the schools within a couple of hours. So it's for simple, experienced IT people or not experienced IT people.
Yeah, it's
If you
for
have an issue, it doesn't matter if you are experienced or not. Everyone could experience the same issue. If your device doesn't get enrolled into autopilot, even a home user could experience the same. Yeah, not a home user, but you get the point. Even a simple user that doesn't know really much about it can run into the TP manifestation issue, for example. But if they start reading, then then maybe they need an aspirin or something.
So does it help? Does it help you? And because I know my brain when I go into like a programming, I do PHP coding. I can do PowerShell. I can do CSS or HTML. I've been an old web developer back in the days, so I know I have that logical brain flow chart inside of my head. And does it help you when you then put it on a piece of paper on your blog when you go into like a troubleshooting mode or?
Yeah, maybe you remember those stupid as Word with MS Paint flows. I did. That's what I still do. Just if I have something, just put it over there and just draw lines between them. Just figuring out how it works. So yeah, paper or paint. It's all starts with the pay. So yeah, I have just paint and I just put it in there and just how Brett Fleck always tells me, I'm just drawing circles, boxes, and so yeah, something like that. You have something that needs to connect to this, and from there on it goes to this, and from this to this. So it's it's the same flow, but then with paint. Because I can also read my own, how do you call it, my own signature, my own writing. It's bad. So yeah, if I wrote it
I
down,
have
I can
bad handwriting
even
as well.
read it. So yeah, no, no writing down stuff for me. Then it's hieroglyphs or something like that. My
Yeah.
girlfriend tells me so.
But me personally, every time I do like a blog post, it's because I have like a technology that I want to put some words on that I couldn't have the same understanding of how I should approach it. And then I just start from the top because on a blog post, you need to start from the top and go to the bottom, right? And
Yeah,
have some
you
kind
need
of
to tell a
conclusion.
story.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you don't have your storyline in it. And also a session, you need to have a storyline in it. If there isn't a storyline in it, yeah, what are you trying to tell the people? What are you trying to explain the people? Because you can tell about something amazing, but if you don't have a conclusion or a good ending, then you have no storyline. And that's what
Yeah.
a little bit happened with the Microsoft session. But
I have done that myself, blanking out as well and stuff like that. It's so
yeah,
uncomfortable when you're in it, but when you're done with that session, you feel like, oh, such a relief, right?
yeah, and the moment in the workplace Ninjas app, the responses came in, and I was able to view them. I was like, oh, people actually like the session, and I really loved how I was doing on stage, or how I was talking on stage. I was like, okay, then apparently it's a good thing that I was making jokes on stage. So it's all always a little bit difficult because I also did a session with Matthias at MMS MOA. It was Matthias' session, and some responses they were too funny on stage. They were like having a good time. I was like, yeah. At least I'm trying to have a good time. So sometimes, yeah, having a joke on stage, yeah. But some people don't like it, apparently.
I have a curveball question to you before your question, Nicholas. Um, that is, if I meet you at a community event or conference or anything like that, how should I say hey to Rudy? Can I shake your hand? Can I give you a hug? What is your
Just yell the
Whatever you
marketing guy
like.
and then give him a beer.
Yeah, especially the beer. If you walk up to me and you have a beer, then we are friends from the start.
Okay, a
No
beer.
problems, whatever.
What is your favorite beer, by the way?
With my favorite beer, that's I'm not even sure if they have it over there, but well, at least you can always order it. But Imperial Stout barrel aged, so most of the time it's a very dark beer, and you can put a fork in it, and that fork will just stay there. It's not Guinness, so you don't need to think it's Guinness
Okay.
because it's dark, but it's actually smells and tastes good instead of Guinness. So sorry for the people that are drinking Guinness and like Guinness, but the Imperial Stout, and if it's barreled aged with chocolate or with vanilla or with rum in it or whiskey, then it's just a candy of a a beer, a candy beer or something like that. So yeah, Imperial Stout. Yeah, no,
Found
not
some
Guinness.
pictures of Guinness. Not Guinness.
Yeah,
No, no, no.
no.
Not good.
Imperial Stout barrel aged, and then Imperial
Is it like that?
Imperial. Well, yeah, that
Imperial.
yeah, it will
There it
autofill.
is. This one.
Yeah, and if you put on barreled aged, for example, and those beers are sometimes pretty expensive as well. Barreled, so it's in a wooden
Oh, a
barrel with whiskey
barrel.
in the
Yeah,
barrel. Yeah.
of course. Wooden barrel. Yeah, yeah. Let me just see if my fingers will work with me.
Yeah, and then aged, so it's aged in a bottle.
Aged like that.
Yeah, and you have it with whiskey in it. You have it with a lot of stuff in it. So also with bourbon or bourbon.
Okay, okay. That's a special beer, huh? Because I never drink that special of a beer.
Oh, it's
Yeah. In
they are
Denmark, we have
picky.
we have we have Tuborg, and we have Carlsberg, and we have Carlsberg.
Oh,
Sorry.
yeah, to oil or something like that. But they also make imperial stout, or at least a very dark beer, but it's a little bit the same, if I'm not mistaken.
So I think we should wrap up, but I think we have 2 questions left. And I think this is something we actually ask like all of the guests here. But what is the best advice you can give to young people getting into IT?
The best
If you
advice,
if you should think back like back in time, what would be the best advice you wanted to have when you started working with
just
IT?
well, actually, I given someone advice as well because he was trying of asking me what should I start writing about or what should I do. And I was like, just well, like I mentioned a couple of minutes ago, just tell what you want to tell, but with your words, with your story in it, not just explaining you can enable this policy and you're done. No, why do I want that policy? What can it do for me? At
Mm.
least, and what's the end result of it? And if it's not the end result, why isn't it working? So not just telling you can enable the config of the configuration policy to configure Google Chrome and that's it. No, the whole story, why it's important that you do it like this or do it like that. Not just copy pasting a block from Microsoft that they tell you how to do it because they have their own opinion. Maybe it's not the right opinion, at least most of the time it is, but still you write it, so you are the person that wants to write something. So it needs to be something you love to write about, and it needs to be in your words and your way of talking. Otherwise, what's the purpose of doing so? Of what's the purpose of start writing? Is it only to attract people to the website, or is it because you want to help out? Is it that you want to tell a story? And if it's only to get famous, then you need to find another job.
Exactly. And the last question, so what is the best advice you can give to people that maybe wants to join community both offline and online. I mean, online is a little bit easier, but I think the most relevant here is probably the offline communities like MMS MOA,
Yeah, that's
WordPress Ninja, stuff like that. Like, what is the best approach for people that don't know anyone?
then it's becoming a little bit difficult because the people that are going to judge your session, they need some knowledge about who you are, of what you can do, or how you could act on stage, or if you are going to tell a good story. And if you're not known in the community, they don't have good background information from you. So then, how are they going to decide if your session is going to be a good one if no one knows you? Then I guess it's pretty hard and difficult to know what you're dealing with. At least that's what I think. Because if you have an excellent session, but no one knows you, they don't know what they are getting themselves into. So
What about like as a normal attendee as well? Like if I wanted to join perhaps MMS for the first time, but I didn't really know people there and I just wanted to attend, like what is your best advice for people there?
try
Is it
to just speak out and just reach out to people, just like I told you. The
yeah,
moment you see Vengeta, just walk through them, say hi, start a conversation, start networking.
yeah. Networking
That's
is key, right?
yeah.
Bring a
If you
beer.
don't, yeah, not for Vegeta, but yeah, just be yourself and start talking, because they actually are not that shy and they are actually human beings. So just approach the guys and or the women and just start start trying to have a conversation with them. And the same with the people from Microsoft on stage. It's the same networking. If they see your face, they will remember your name, they will remember who you are, and the next time it makes it more easier. Then you can approach them. So it's it's always difficult to step up, of course, but yeah, you need to have some luck sometimes. And yeah, that's the same way I met Vangetta. Yeah, that's something that was supposed to happen, apparently, because I was just having during the MVP summit a couple of years ago. Me and Jason Sandys went out for lunch in the Microsoft room for food, and he was like, let's meet some people, Jason Sandys. So okay, fine. And there I met Mike Dononsky for the first time, and Mike was like, "Oh, Rudy, I guess you really want to talk with someone that knows a little bit about that MMPC, what you are trying to tell people." So at that point, I was looking at some guy. I was like, "I don't know who he is." And he walked up to me and he introduced himself, and I was from Geta. And from there on, I was like, "Okay, I'm shitting my pants right now, but I'm just starting a conversation. Let's see what happens." And that's about it. Just networking, having a conversation, and trying to have a funny, nice conversation with someone about the stuff they like, and then you're good. So again, and just what you mentioned, networking is key, and that's how it is and how it is always been.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, was a great talk with you, Rudy.
Thanks.
Me and
Hopefully,
Nicholas, we
my
enjoyed
knowledge
this one.
is I sound a little fluffy of how do you call it, but
So
It's
a
nice.
big shout out, yeah, Nicholas.
It's nice to see that you joined anyway, even though you're a little bit sick.
can be worse. Just like I mentioned earlier, if I had a headache, that was worse. But just a full nose, it's not a wonderful feeling, but at least I can still talk.
Yeah.
The moment I drove to workplace near Switzerland, I just got a stomach ache the day before. My son was sick. My stomach was upside down, so I could barely eat. I wasn't feeling well, so yeah, and I was like, and shit, I need to do a session in 2 days. Hopefully, I'm going to feel better. So how I feel now is I can totally live with that.
You did good, and I can say to all the people, the million of people we have watching our podcast, just search for Rudy Ooms on Google, and you will find his blog, and you will find his LinkedIn and his Twitter account /X. Thank you, Rudy, so much
You're
for coming
welcome.
here.
Nice to be here.